there's already ongoing engagement between the federal and state governments with respect to the issues of agricultural policy as well as agricultural extension. We would like to encourage the reinforcement of this collaboration, the advancement of this collaboration as a way of sustaining the agricultural transformation agenda. We know that the land is domiciled in the states, our people live in the states, and we think that the federal government should continue to provide leadership, continue to provide guidance and a partnership in order for us to really fully realize the attainment or the full attainment of the agricultural transformation agenda. During the presidential policy dialogue on Tuesday, Mr. Vice President, the former Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization, which is a UN agency, Mr. Jacques Diouf, took us through a global, painted the situation, the global situation, and how developing countries have really, based on their understanding of the importance of food security and national security, continuously supported the agricultural sector by really providing price support to their farmers. And he did encourage Nigeria to look at this very seriously. And we think that it is something that government should look at. And so this is an important aspect of the recommendations that we're putting forward today, the introduction of a price support on agricultural output, but on the condition that the benefits that will accrue therefrom should go directly to the farmers. And we say this because we have heard about the dismantling of the fertilizer, what do I call it? I mean, this thing that we suffered for several years in the Ministry of Agriculture. More recently, the issue of the fuel subsidy, which is still under investigation. And so we support price support. However, we must come up with a way to make sure that the benefits go directly to the people for whom it is intended. Mr. Vice President, the next item is the issue of infrastructure. And under infrastructure, what we're saying is that infrastructure must not be provided just for the sake of providing infrastructure. That because of this new understanding and the mobilization we're talking about under this, towards this new national aspiration, it is important for us to really see how ensure that our investments in infrastructure have direct benefits, have direct impacts on our efforts to ensure sustainable implementation of the agricultural transformation agenda. In this respect, we propose the continued upgrade of air and seaports infrastructure to support agro-export. We also support and encourage the improvement of access of rural farmers to electricity infrastructure. We recall the very robust representation made by Mrs. Yemisi Nweke, who was on the presidential policy dialogue, and how just her being at this summit literally transformed her business. And therefore, we believe that the conscious targeting of infrastructure towards their deployment in agricultural zones will help the attainment of, will help the achievement of the full benefits of the agricultural transformation agenda. Of course, Nigeria is well endowed with several water bodies, and it is our contention that we must continuously embrace sustainable management of these water resources and to ensure that we deploy them to good use through the channeling of dams and rivers towards irrigation. We've heard that, yes, while rain-fed agriculture is good, but irrigation is better because it helps you to carry on with all year round farming, and then it also improves your agricultural production at least by 100%. The last, but not the least, is the issue of effective road and rail networks, connecting rural farmers and farm estates to markets. The matter of technology, in order to accelerate rural broadband deployment by USPF, we did discuss the issue of the electronic wallet system through which fertilizer is now being distributed. But we recognize that there are constraints, infrastructural constraints, and therefore we hope that government will continue to invest in rural broadband under the Universal Service Provision Fund of the Ministry of ICT. Mr. Vice President, it is our contention that all of these efforts will come to naught unless we're able to add value to our agricultural produce. And therefore, we have a slide titled Industry Linkages. And we believe that one way to really fast-track all of this is to speed up the implementation of the Staple Crop Processing Zones initiative. We know that the one in Agbado is taken off. The other ones must take off as soon as possible. And government should do all in its powers to ensure that these zones take off immediately. Mr. Vice President, we also believe that it is important for us to fast-track the establishment of technology-enabled warehouse receipt systems to improve efficiency and transparency. And as one way to really encourage interest and sustain participation in this sector is for us to create visible infrastructure within agricultural communities to elicit interest in agribusiness. We believe that when the staple crop processing zones come on stream, people are going to walk past some of these zones or drive through these zones and say, what is going on here? And you're told it is a staple crop processing zone and you have all the infrastructure you need. We believe that this is one way, not only to reinforce the political commitment that already exists, but also to attract sustainable interest in that sector. All these industry linkages, again, will come to naught unless we're able to provide some kind of standardization policy to make the sector competitive and to also protect the interest and health of consumers of some of these products. Again, on the matter of knowledge, research, and development. And in this section, Mr. Vice President, we're not just talking about research, knowledge as a consequence of research. We're talking about the need for farmers, old and young, or old and new, to actually gain a better understanding, better knowledge of the opportunities in the agricultural sector through improved extension services. But we're also making a very strong case for additional investments in research. I'm happy that we have in the audience gentlemen or members of the National Assembly. And we had often watched during the budget defense of the annual budget defenses when ministers in various ministries would have considerable difficulties in trying to explain why research institutes should be funded. So I'm happy they're in the audience. The truth of the matter is that unless we have access to improved seedlings, unless we have access to new technology, unless we really make deliberate efforts to create new knowledge in this sector, the efforts of the farmers will come to naught, and it will serve as a discouragement for them to continue to be in that sector. So investment in knowledge, research, development, it is critical. We also believe, Mr. Vice President, that scholarships and grants targeted at encouraging enrollment in agricultural courses will not be out of place. We also propose very strongly collaboration between research institutes and the private sector. Very importantly, sir, we respectfully suggest that it is important for us to align our educational curriculum with our national agricultural aspirations. It is not enough in our view for us to say, yes, agriculture is important, we want to improve employment, we want to create wealth, we want to empower the youth, we want to empower the women, we want to really make Nigeria self-sufficient. And yet, we do not put in place policies that underpin this national aspiration. We therefore believe that a realignment of our curriculum, our national schools curriculum at all levels, with this national aspiration is critical. Mr. Vice President, honorable ministers, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, environment and climate change. Last year, something unprecedented happened in Nigeria. About 19 states in the entire country were overwhelmed with flood never seen in the history of our country.